So at this point, you've got Google Reader completely loaded up with all of the best sources for information in your niche. And it's time to just completely immerse yourself in that material so that you can figure out what are the best topics, what are the things that people are asking, what's the best stuff that you want to curate and share with your audience. So again, we need to keep in mind that folders are important. Now I'm going to go over my folder system so that you've got an idea of how you can structure your folders to make this curation process as easy as possible. Of course, I have folders for my personal interests. As you can see, I've got my Bikram folder, the design folder. Those are personal interests of mine, things that I want to keep up with and see what's going on. Now, we also have a folder for dailies, and that's stuff in the marketing channel that I want to read daily. For me, internet marketing being one of my biggest passions and the area that I curate and create content the most in, it's very important that there are certain sites that I really want to read every single day. And so that is what my dailies folder is for. So that's the first place that I go every day when I want to check in on what's going on in the marketplace. Those aren't necessarily the sites that I always curate from the most, but they are the sites that I want to keep up with the most for my own personal growth and personal development in internet marketing. And in your own niche, you will find that doing the same will help you immensely. Create a folder of these sites that you always go to and go, oh my gosh, this is great. Put those in a separate folder, call it dailies, call it must reads, call it whatever you'd like, and then start there every day. Now, next I've got a folder called high volume, and that's actually what I used to use for sites like Mashable and TechCrunch until the PostRank service came to be. So that would be where I would put all of those other sites that would clutter up my other feeds because they publish maybe 40 times a day, a ridiculous amount, right? I wouldn't want them to clutter up my other folders, so I put them in the high volume folder. Now with PostRank, that's no longer necessary, and so that is being phased out of my Google Reader. The next folder I have is marketing, and that's just all the internet marketing SEO stuff. So it's the main folder for my niche that I work in, and it's where I'll go after I've done my dailies to check in and see what other news is going on out there, what other posts have come up. And that's my biggest folder by far in terms of number of feeds that I subscribe to. But because I have everything sorted by magic, Google does a really good job of filtering out the most important stuff for me and putting it on top. So that would be the main folder for your particular niche. You want to have something like that in addition to the dailies folder, because it isn't always realistic to read everything that comes out in a particular day. So we've got our dailies. We check in on those first thing, and then you have your main folder in your niche. In my case, it's my marketing folder. Your main folder in your niche, which has everything else in it that you do want to keep up on. Now, next I have productivity. That's kind of like, for me, in between marketing and a personal interest. It's a little bit of both for me. Some of the stuff that's in that folder, some of the feeds that are in that folder are relevant for marketing and internet marketers. Some of the stuff that's in that folder isn't. And so that's something that I usually take time to read more when I'm dealing with extra time on my hands reading for personal interest. Although oftentimes I will find things that I want to share with the internet marketing community. So you may find that you have an area of interest that's sometimes applicable to your niche and sometimes not, and that's okay. Put it in its own folder and then go with it. Finally, I've got Twitters. These are the RSS feeds from some folks on Twitter that I really want to keep up with, like our esteemed friend Ed Dale. He's in my Twitters folder. And so if I want to see what's going on with particular people, I've subscribed to their RSS feed on Twitter, put it into my Google Reader account, and put it into the Twitters folder. So that's a way that I can kind of keep up with what my friends, what my colleagues are doing. Again, in your own niche, there may be some bloggers or some people who are already in something of a market leadership position who you do just want to keep abreast of what they're up to. And in that case, you can put them in a Twitters folder. So my routine usually goes through dailies, then Twitters, and then marketing. And that's for my internet marketing business side of things. That's the order that I will go in. Now, again, I want to reiterate to you, sorting by magic, super duper important. It will help you filter through all of the noise. Google will learn from the things that you read and be able to show you the most important things first. So do take advantage of the Sort by Magic option in Google Reader. Also, another big key to scanning through your list very, very quickly is on the right-hand side of this video. You see it says Show, and then it says Expanded or List. I have it set to List. When something is set up as to show as list, it looks like this. I'm going to see the title of the post in bold, and then I begin to see the first few lines of a post in the more grayed out text. Now this helps me see very, very quickly which things I want to then click on and read in full. This particular site does a lot of stuff on typography that doesn't interest me much, and as such, by seeing the title very quickly, I know that that's not interesting to me and can go ahead and click past it, or not click it at all, pardon me, and move on to the next one. So view as list helps you move through things so much faster. If you view as expanded, you're going to see the whole post, and then it's going to take you so much longer to get through everything because you'll start to get sucked into things that aren't really relevant. So this helps you. It's a theory of constraint, right? You're not able to see the things that aren't necessary to you, and you're only able to see the things that you want to read when you actually take an action to click on them. So at that point, you've got a decision to make. Where are you going to send the information that you've read, that you've thought was really good? Where do you want to send it? And don't be like Ben's Stag Party here. These guys were at a race that I was at. My uncle participates in something called Le Mans, and it's a race where they dress up their cars and make them crazy, and then they go and they, drive their cars for 24 hours. Well, Ben's Stag Party, this car here got a red flag, and so it had to go into the penalty box. And you'll see that the garage door on the left-hand side is all the way open, whereas the garage door on the right-hand side here is closed some. Well, unfortunately, on their way in, they made it just fine. On their way out, they lost their deer antlers because the door was shut. So don't be like Ben's Stag Party. You've got to know where your content wants to go, and you've got to know which purposes or which sites are going to be the best for your content. So let's take a look at the different content distribution options out there, the places that you can curate the best content that you have found. Okay, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got your own blog or site, any niche-specific discussion forums or social networks, or you may just get a really good idea from a piece of content that you've read and consider that a seed for a full-length piece of content for you to write, or it could be any combination thereof. So I'm going to take a minute and talk about these different places and what kind of content best suits them. So Twitter is a broadcasting network for the most part. It isn't as good as Facebook or your own site at eliciting discussion from folks. So Twitter is really great for those kinds of things that are an interesting link, a funny link, but don't necessarily have a lot of discussion that you want to have around them. So that's going to be, I found this really great resource. Here it is. End of story. That's what Twitter is best for. Facebook, on the other hand, if you have a Facebook fan page, and I certainly hope that you do, Facebook is much better for discussion than Twitter these days. And you can post a link to something and then say, hey, what did you think of this? Or do you agree with the author? Or here's your opinion on it, even better, because as a market leader, you certainly should have opinions on things. And people will respond in comments on Facebook, letting you know their thoughts. And you can create a really great community on a Facebook fan page. Your own blog, of course, is a great place to curate content. There are a lot of great sites that use curation, and it will simply be an excerpt and then one or two sentences about something. I prefer to keep my blog to longer length pieces, but that's my internet marketing blog, and it really depends on your niche and your objectives. I do say that no matter which option you choose, if you're going to post something to your own blog, do add your own opinion, because that's your platform. And it's your opportunity to shine. So if you're going to post, say, an excerpt of something that somebody else wrote, you link back to them, and then you really should use that opportunity to expound upon your own thoughts on that particular topic if you're doing this on your blog, certainly. You may also want to spread your content, like we said, to a niche-specific discussion forum, and that might be, a forum literally in your own niche, or a social network for your niche, that sort of thing. Say in the weight loss industry, there's tons of communities and sites around weight loss, and your own niche may have something like that. And you should have, if it does, probably found it while we were doing our searches for loading up our Google Reader earlier. So you may find that some of those sites have the ability for you to post content on them. And in that case, you may decide that this piece of content is best to go on a niche specific forum. Finally, a lot of the things that we come across as we do our Google Reader may spark an idea for a full-length post of our own to go on our own blog, or they may spark a counter belief. Somebody writes something, you don't agree with it, you're very passionate about this topic because this is your niche, and you want to write a full-length, hey, no, you know what, I think things should be done this way instead. So in that case, you've gotten a great idea from this seed article, as we'll call it. But as we're in the process of curation, the idea isn't so much to be going through these Google Reader items and then launching out into writing a 1,000-word blog post, right? The idea as we're doing this Google Reader curation exercise is more to get a really full top-level overview of what's going on in our market, and then to send out the best stuff via these channels to our own followers, fans, and network. So the way that we're going to treat something that sparks an idea for a really full-length quality post or video or something like that is a little bit different than how we would treat an item that inspired us to tweet it out to our followers. And of course, we'll cover that fully. And finally, a piece that you find in your Google Reader could spark your interest in sharing it on any number of places. It isn't against the rules to publish something on, say, a niche social network and Facebook, right? I mean, that's the best way to leverage the content that you're curating, and the content that you create is to share it in more than one place. And that's ideal, and that's mostly what we're going to be focusing on going forward, is how to not only create the really great content, but then how to get it to the different places that will help us gain that audience, help us gain that recognition as a market leader.